Good afternoon, everyone. We are into the next session of GPT-ification of mobile app testing. So how many of you have used OpenAI and ChatGPT so far? Pretty much, oh. So I can't find even a single one who hasn't. So today we are going to talk about, instead of just asking question, what can be used in the context of software development, and specifically, how can we use that in software and mobile application testing? But before I go into this, we'll go a little bit on a journey. The people, some of you may have started their career in like 20 plus years, like myself. Things have changed, from really a lot of different things to where we are today, right? From the waterfall, traditional development model to an agile sprint. Shipping product is still on physical CDs, and the people who are starting or fresh out of college grads starting today would not even recognize, how can you even ship products on physical CDs, right? Distribution takes time. At least when I started my career, shipping every 2 years was a pretty good deal. Today, if you are shipping in few days or few weeks, you're already behind. Yet, we continue to test the software the way we have been doing for the past 30 years. Hiring people to perform manual testing or writing code to test. And because of that, software test automation is one of the biggest impediments for faster software releases. And why is it that? For a few reasons. Number one, setting up environment and configuration is time-consuming. Getting up real devices versus emulators. I had several conversations since this morning about device coverage when you're releasing on hundreds of or tens of different countries at a time. Needs people to dedicate resources to set up and run and constantly update the newer devices, right? And investigating failures constantly that's related to your different devices and configuration. Two, coding required for automation, right? Like everybody knows, when you're writing both on Android and iOS, what framework to use? Are you going to use Appium? Are you going to use Espresso? Since we are talking about AndroidCon, I'll stay focused on Android. And specialized tools needed for UI, performance, and visual qualities of the aspect. And that requires knowledge of framework, right? And constant update is required. And also because of that, abstraction layer creates the more each times to investigate failures and why it's happening. Third, automation maintenance is time-consuming. Everybody's running hours and hours of tests every day, and it takes time to investigate. And when you're running tests so long, you will require investigation of false positive. That happens all the time. Product changes will happen. Therefore, your test needs to be modified. So how do we make that available and easier to modify it? And also, the flaky test analysis continue to happen. Last but not the least, reporting across your test is fragmented, right? Unit test, functional test, UI test, performance tests, you name it, and people have to go and analyze different reports, different data from ADB log to your custom log to your third-party tools to figure it out what's happening and how to make it actionable. And also reporting requires, sometimes, specific reporting skills are required to bring all those things together to decide how fast can you release those things, and which also related to the fragmented data set. So then the question is that with all these problems set, how do we bring all these things together to really transform the software testing? So we believe at Sophie is that the no-code automation plus the GPT platform can open up the areas and open up the use cases that wasn't possible before. For example, today, and I'll show you in that demo as well, is that now you can instantaneously acquire or make your physical devices available in seconds. Two, anybody can create automation with no coding required, without dependency on Appium or Espresso or setting up environments so that people can create automation, right? And no dependency on any testing framework whatsoever. The time where you have to decide between the framework and how to use it and where to use it makes it very difficult and time-consuming. And also, using GPT to analyze your results real time and also suggest fixes. If you get a crash, how do you go fix it, as an example? And also, in some cases, be able to create test cases right out of your functional spec run it once and convert it into an automation so that in minutes, instead of days, you can actually create test cases, and that I'll show you. And that's how we believe bringing all those things together makes a huge difference in engineering productivity, as we show you in the demo now. So now, you must be thinking, okay, there are a lot of things that I'm talking about, so how do you bring this together? That comes to the next part of the presentation, which is actually the real demo of how we go do that. So in Sophie, what we have done is that we have brought all those 4 aspects together. So for example, if in this case I'm testing an app that's available publicly, in this case Hilton app. So if I want to go and test this particular device, I can actually go and pick any device that I want. These are all physical real devices. So in this case, if I want to access a device, in this case is Samsung, I can actually instantaneously get it access. So it's available to people to go use it, and in under 10 seconds, your physical real devices is available to you. It's real devices running in our data center that's accessible. And once it's available, you can perform any actions in this device that you would typically do it, right from simulating the network, changing different network settings from 2G, 4G, whatever you need, and also ability to create different elements of that application, right? So that's kind of the number one part, instantaneously giving you an environment that's integrated with your CI/CD pipeline so that the latest builds are available all the time. So you can see in this case, if I want to go search it, I can search anything. I am from Seattle, so I can actually search for hotels in Seattle. And it will give me all the things that we do it, that you can do it on an actual physical device. So you're interacting with an actual physical device. So now, if I want to go create an automation, I can actually just transform that into a very simple thing. I said, OK, I want to start a new test automation, start from scratch, which is going to reset the application and run it. One of the things that problem that individual people have is that, just configuring the environment to run in Appium and Espresso takes time. You get the build, you figure it out, you configure it, and accessing the element or find by element or things like that takes time consuming and also requires technical skill sets to determine that. So in this case, you can see I have a latest environment available and on any environment that I want to run, and then also can have this application available to me. So in this case now, I'm running the test. It's available now, so I'm going to do the same thing that I was doing, that now I can actually start recording my basic test. So again, it's Seattle, and I can set the text, and search for results. And now you can see its interactability with the interaction with your device is seamless as you would have it typically with a particular device. A lot of things that happen is that when people are doing the validation, they have to create a search. As people know, there are multiple search classes. So if you want to create an search, you can just call an search, and if I want to, in this case, wants to validate, hey, if this particular thing should exist, right? So I can actually say, hey, it exists, and add a search. But I can also provide ability to create a search on the value of the content. So in this case, if I want to make it available that, hey, it should be, in this case, find hotel, and add a search so you can perform all those actions. One of the pain point that people have is that ability to perform performance tests, CPU utilization, all of those things. And it happens after the fact. You know it all the time. Hey, tester comes to you and say, hey, this is taking longer time. Then you have to go back and analyze all those things. So in this platform, you can actually set it up as kind of changes. For example, you said every step should take less than 1 second. And if it takes longer than that, the system will automatically identify those issues and give those results to you. So now, as an example, if my demo is done, I can save this. And then I'll show you how we are using ChatGPT in this case to perform actions, right? So once it's saved, it can actually go and analyze all the results that are happening, how it's happening. This as execute test now. So what it's doing is that it can go run this test on this particular device, but you also have the ability to run this literally on hundreds of devices. and you can integrate that as part of your CI/CD pipeline. So running it once, creating it once, and running it on any number of devices. So you can see now, this now is initialized. You can quickly run your basic test. So it's about to kick off the run. And then while it's running, it's also analyzing what's happening under the hood with respect to performance, with respect to visual quality, and also with respect to CPU and memory utilization. So you can see now it's going to quickly come through, find all the things that I ran the test, and in few minutes, you can automate your end-to-end scenarios in a very seamless and easy way. So now you can see this is done. And now what we can do with this test result, now my test result is completed. Now I can not only analyze it, but I can also start comparing it against my baseline. So let's look at quickly the test results. So this result is done. So now you can see that once the test result is done, I can see the device metric and everything that I set. I can set up my different threshold. I can analyze those results, and all those pieces are fit into. And if you want to go and modify it, you can modify it any of those scenarios in a very seamless and simpler way. So now you must be thinking, okay, where is the GPT here? So now what we have done is that in parallel, under the hood, we are building your own model as well for application, knowing where you are performing actions and how you are performing it. So what you can do in this case, as an example, I can actually start analyzing this results. I can start asking, hey, tell me the insights about this application. Tell me what happened, right? It will give you all the information. It can actually also find out, hey, summarize my result in this case, right? Is it pass or fail? So you must be saying, okay, that's great, but give me more. So what you can also do is that now you can start saying, instead of having an Appium code and somebody else generating the code for you, you can actually start instructing the Sophie to go and perform that for you. So for example, the test that I just did, I want to actually go and create Appium. Most of you must have created the Appium code for this test. Oops, for this test. So what it's going to do is that it now actually can now go create test for you as well. So it's like fully coded, it's enabled that you can go in and use this, copy it, run it locally in your environment. Sometimes it takes a little bit longer, but you can see that the idea is that all the data that's available to you is now consumable. So now you can see I have actually not only did that, but I actually start doing the test cases as well for you, right? Depending on where you're using, it automatically determines whether I need to use it as a dynamic content or non-dynamic content. If you're using native app or if you're using framework for dynamic contents, you can actually go and use it. Kotlin or Flutter or other apps, it automatically determines that what's under the hood and adapt to it. And as we are building the model, it becomes easier and easier for you to go do that. So you can see that, you can copy it and do that, right? So that's kind of one use case. As a developer, you know things will change. Some program manager will come and write a functional spec, and you need to change that because I just created something and it's being modified. So how can we use that? So one of the things that we believe that especially with the GPT, it enables you to contextualize it. And what do I mean by that? So as an example, if a developer has created a new functional spec, and this is my Jira Confluence page, right? Anybody can create that. So that's created and tells me, hey, go modify X and Y, Z in my product. So what you can do now is, which is, I believe is quite interesting and unique implementation or usage of GPT, is that I can actually start creating tests right out of what I just did and also the new functional spec. So we are bringing Confluence page or Jira or whatever functional spec, like raw document, and bringing what I test together or the knowledge of my application and bringing it together. How do we do that? So in this case, I can actually just go in and say, hey, create new test using Sophie, and I can actually just point to my functional spec. And under the hood, it's going to do is that it's going to analyze what everything I have done and understand what are the use cases you have and start generating the test cases for you. So now you can see that it's not only created that test, but it also gives you what are the expected results, what are the test data that you should be able to go use it. In this case, I may have certain test data, and you can actually go and perform these actions. So all those things kind of brings these things together, meaning as you are testing your application, we are building your model, and as your program manager are writing functional specification, we bring those things together and say, hey, here are the suggested test cases. So what do you do with those test cases? I can, in this case, can create a test case, and I can say it's demo for DroidCon, and I can actually go and create that test. And once this test is created, now anybody in the team can actually go and execute this test out of the box. And by running that, actually, let me just do this. By running this, you can actually not only take that information that you have it, but also be able to consume it and generate the test cases and run once and execute it on hundreds of devices. And that's really where the power is, that you have the ability to take a functional spec, ability to learn constantly learn from what you're testing your application, bring those things together, and have an environment instantaneously available that you can execute on hundreds of devices. And this enables the scenarios that wasn't possible before the GPT time. In order to do that, you have to build your own models. You have to build your own steps to create that opportunity of creating tests. And that's why we believe that it's an opportunity right now to really transform how the QA is done. Those days when we have to run all those tests manually, and those days when you have to write all the code and maintain those are actually gone. Now we can actually bring those things together in a seamless way that can enable tests in an effective way. And what I have not shown you is that any test that gets created, you can run on any number of devices concurrently, like hundreds of devices you want to go do that, so that becomes easier and easier for people to use it. So that was the end of it. We don't have any kind of Q&A. You can actually come and try Sophie for your own at sophie.ai, a free trial that you can use it, upload your app, and see what the GPT gives you your own results, right? And we're available in Sophie booth and available after the talk as well if you have any questions. So that is the end of the talk.